Howdy folks, my name's Christian and welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today's January 20th and just opened up a fresh bale for our 3 heifers here. These girls have been bale grazing, pretty much since they've been on the farm. They've been on grass. I haven't taken them off. 3 heifers, I haven't been worried about much damage to the land, and they just went from grazing in November, December and just stayed on. I took them off for a couple hours to set out these bales, which should get us to until March, but we'll have to see because I'll be assimilating 3 bred cows, well, 2 heifers and 1 cow with the group. Just got on the farm 2 days ago, and I'm just keeping them separate for 3 weeks to prevent any risk of spread of the cattle carrying anything. It's a blessing to have the ability to manage and separate groups, which is essential to your cattle operation because it just comes in use during times when you really need it. Okay, and those cattle will be separate, and when I bring them in with the group, they'll be bale grazing with these 3 heifers. So it'll turn to 6 head in here, and well, the 3 heifers have already grazed down one of the bales. And pretty much, if you're not aware, what we use is the poly braid wire with electric fence reels, insulated reels to roll out a whole wire. There's the reel on the fence there. And it hooks onto a high tensile wire, which surrounds the whole perimeter of the field. And that restricts the cattle to the bales that I want them to consume. So at first, that wire only had this bale open, and that wire kind of ran that way, so it would cut off that bale. And then this morning, I just went about 3/4 of the way down, and then I just cut the wire down to that fence, which opened up a nice large pizza slice to the field and a fresh bale for the girls. And it's taken about 1.5 to 2 weeks for those 3 girls to consume a full bale. And that's not the most ideal, and I'll talk a bit about that when we take a look at this bale here that was consumed and spread. But when I put in those 3 red cows with the group, we'll double our consumption at least because they're older and larger. And so I suspect that we're going to be going through a bale every 4 or 5 days, and that's more ideal. And we'll get into why that is right now. So if it takes 3 heifers about 1.5 to 2 weeks to consume a bale, that is more time for that bale to spoil after it has been opened up as the cattle consume it. So there's more nights where rain will be falling on it for it to be sitting damp, and it's not so bad, but you're going to get some more wastage because the cattle are actually spending more time occupying that space around the bale, and more poop accumulates. Not necessarily more poop than 40 head in a 24 to 48 hour period because the stocking density is much higher, but like I say, more days for things to sit there and have a gestation period for bacteria and whatnot. So I'm not too worried about that right now because the girls are moving on, and it's been about 1.5 weeks on this bale, and as you can see, it's been spread around. And that was just pure man strength with a pitchfork. I don't have a quad, so rolling out bales, which I think is awesome if you have the proper tool to do it, like how those guys have those do-it-yourself implements to roll out bales, or Greg Judy's fancy bale unroller. At the other farm I manage, out of the other 3 seasons, we roll out bales with a tow strap and a rebar. But in the winter time, it doesn't prove to be the most reliable and consistent thing because you got to kind of balance it and tether it and steer it to make sure it just goes and rolls straight. And there's no guarantees you'll roll it out all in one go. You could also, in a field like this, roll bales down the hill. But if I rolled out bales for just those 3 girls, most of that bale would spoil, because if it takes them a week and a half to 2 weeks to consume a bale, they're just going to graze the top of what's been rolled out. And by the time they get to day 4 or 5, that other stuff that's been sitting on the ground and perhaps catching moisture and manure might not be as palatable. So I've found with less head, standing the bale on the edge like this actually works more efficiently, because the cattle will consume more of the hay, strictly because it takes them a longer time to do it. At the other farm, you know, we have 40 head around. They consume 2 bales a day. So if I set them out and there's 2 bales, I know in the morning that spot's cleaned up pretty good. It's been eaten in a 24-hour period where it hasn't had the opportunity to start to spoil. And even still on those, I spread it out like this. But of course, when you're working with more head, that's more work, because it'll be more bales. So for a small group like this that's got about 10 bales throughout the whole field, you know, it's not the biggest deal. I'm just going to have to spread out 10 bales. And that's because, you know, I don't have a quad to roll out hay. But like I say, I wouldn't really even need to be rolling out hay right now if I wanted a more effortless way of feeding these girls, right? I move a wire once every 1.5 to 2 weeks. That'll change to 4 or 5 days when I assimilate all them together. But still, that's different than rolling out bales every single day, firing up a quad. And you know, with the work that we're doing, I'm not against firing up machines and fuel. I think that they actually are reliable and needed on a farm. But starting out this small, I don't necessarily think so. Sure, they're convenient, but I don't need a quad to run, you know, 6 cows on this land, because I have my compact tractor that's just brought out bales to position them where I wanted to. And all the feeding work's essentially done. I just got to come out, walk, move wire, and cut twine. And, you know, people have mentioned about trapped carbon with this method. They're not wrong. And that's why I've spread the pats the way I do when I do this practice, because I'm aware of that trapped carbon and have experientially seen the feedback from nature in doing it. Okay. And I know that it grows back better if you do move the fluff and excess carbon on there. And so that's why we do that. And it's great. But, you know, you get up to 80 head, this is going to be a pretty physically intensive workout for you to be spreading hay all day. And a young, energetic farmer might enjoy that, because there is something about having both feet on the ground and being in touch with the land and, you know, doing manual work to regenerate. I really do appreciate that. But I also appreciate, you know, the leverage that you can get with equipment. And so, you know, I've always thought that starting small on a regenerative farm, you don't really need many machines. You know, a small compact tractor came into the sphere of what was possible for us, and it's going to have a multitude of use. You know, they don't recommend it to be moving bales this size, but I do, because it can do it. And it lifts it about 3 or 4 feet high, and maybe I'll show you a video of that. And that works for a small herd and for our sheep, a small flock of sheep right now. And as we grow, we will get what we need. So, you know, keeping the animals on the land, having them moving through the landscape with a grazing mentality, and getting the benefit of manure distribution, which is really your fertilization program and your best friend as an organic farm. You know, I'm not saying that all the politics of organics are anything that I agree with, but it does coincide with the philosophy of not spraying synthetic chemicals onto your land, doesn't it? And so that would promote or provoke farmers to look for natural means and methods to increase the fertility of their soil. And, you know, if they are growing in that direction, then regenerative techniques would come into their sphere of awareness. And yeah, that's what we're trying to apply here. Not trying to say that we know everything the best. And but I gotta say, we're happy with what we're doing, and we feel called to be doing what we're doing. And the feedback is really having an enjoyable farm with healthy animals. That is its own reward. The prosperity of that cannot really be communicated with just words alone. So, you know, I know we're getting to 10 minutes here, but I want to quickly talk about some of the cattle we picked up. We got 2 Herefords and a Red Angus cow. And the Herefords, you know, they're gonna match pretty with our 3 younger girls here. Looks like we're building ourselves a nice Hereford herd here. But, you know, like I said before, Red Angus, I'm a fan of the red. So, our bull is black. We'll see how the calves come out. And we're not too picky about it. It's just kind of, you know, we're having fun with it. And so I'll show more about these girls in future videos. And, you know, it's been a while since I've shown the sheep. The dog has come such a long way in its training, and its bonding with the sheep has really gotten to a point that we're happy about. And, you know, she's got to be about 4 or 5 months now. And we're really impressed, okay? It's our first livestock guardian dog, but we'll share more about that in the future, folks. Now, I want to say thanks for stopping by. God bless you all. I'll see you on the next one.